Hello, hello, I'm back again. So, I figure, I want to talk about one more little thing before we get to La Nova Tier List Part 2. And this part's probably going to get glossed over a little bit in the actual video. So, I thought I'd talk about it. So, I want to talk about Irene today. So, Irene is very interesting. As you know, she's one of the characters she's like a character from the Looking Glass, which is like a dreamer, like RPG Maker esque thing, but it kind of like became its own thing a little bit. I'm not sure about all the details. I know that she's in the Frollo show and all that, obviously, but this is mainly focused on Irene herself. And she was added to Law Nova like a little bit ago now. She was, I think she's the first Dreamer character to Law Nova. Technically, like Jade could technically be considered a Dreamer character, but that's more like a Homestuck character. And I think it's kind of like before the update patch, obviously. I think it was a common consensus that of all the Dreamer characters, Irene was probably the most lacking. And I wanted to, I want to ask, why is that exactly? Like, what makes Irene, like, weirder? What makes her different? It makes her lesser than a lot of the other RPG Maker girls. And I think one of the things, obviously, that we want to establish is range. Like, her, obviously, a lot of her update patch was focused on like her getting range and movement options. And obviously, that extended to her tilts and stuff. Like, what is it with range in RPG Maker Girls? Like, why is that such a thing? We don't really. Why was it such a problem for her specifically? Like, Mado is kind of stubby. She has like the knife. Like, what's the big deal? And I think people kind of like forget sometimes that, obviously when you're working with a sprite-based character, you're very limited in what you can do with like their animations. You kind of have to like get a little bit more creative and experimental, and that's generally what happens with these RPG Maker characters. Like for example, Madatsuki. One of her things is, we'll get to her in a second. Is like her smash attacks like are like giant like things that cover around her. A lot of attacks cover a lot of her like body, from her tilts to her aerials. It's like it's not something Irene like really had before, which is it's easy to kind of like forget about that, like when you're kind of just pulling from the sprites themselves. You think, oh, she'll do like a 1 frame or a 2 frame thing. She'll like smack it, and that's pretty good. That's strong. But what made Mado and Yomika especially threatening was like all the tools they had on top of like being a small character with range. Like these characters are tiny. What made them strong is not only are they like very tiny, but they can reach you. They can like reach above them. Like they're very threatening. And on top of that, because even though they're small, they could be deceptively fast with movement options and such. Like Mado has her bike and she has Witch. Yomika has a Kingfisher, which gives her like 5 jumps, and then like a dashing thing and a recovery. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot to have. Like just one of the things I want to stress is like the LoL game did a lot of this as well for Yomika. But like look at all that. Look at these giant like hitboxes. Like that entire hitbox before, I'm pretty sure, extended far beyond any of her tilts before the patch. Like now I feel like her tilts are definitely more acceptable. I do feel like they could be expanded out a little bit. But again, this is something you kind of just have to feel out, this is like a very tricky thing to get right. Because again, you're dealing with sprite-based characters. You don't want to be like too overpowered. And again, obviously don't replicate everything Yomika does. Yomika is not a good example of what to like completely copy one for one, as we originally discussed in the Yomika thing for Chinchurnas. But it is something to keep in mind. You want to make sure these characters do have like the very like the big hitboxes to make up for these small ranges. And obviously, like movement helps as well. You want them to make sure they can be really good. Let's quickly just go over like all of her tilts. Obviously, like there we go. See, that's already like a lot more range. She even jumps forward a little bit to hit, which is good. Like obviously, Scap's trying to keep closer to like the original intention. Like she's like she is stubby, but like giving her even just a little bit of a jump. Even Mado has that thing where she reaches forward a little bit with a knife. So like there's something there. Like even Mado has this kind of thing. So that's good. That's good. And Irene took a lot of like notes from Mado clearly. And obviously, I think up tilt is probably like her biggest move. That's why I just made this. Just having like a giant thing that covers around her body, like in a protective circle, is very good. It's very good. It means you can like cut someone behind you or in front of you or coming up from above you. There is a lot of like practicality to this. Yeah. And the side tilt is very good now. I think this goes farther than a lot of like Yomika's like I think down tilt. Well, you can watch the video for yourself. Obviously, we're not getting too crazy about this. But yeah, the range is good. The range is good. These are what she needs. Yeah, the neutral air. This is really good. This is already like leagues better. This is very, very nice. This is more range than Mado's neutral air, but it's like about like what Yomika has, maybe a little bit more. So in some moves, like Irene has more range than other Dreamers, but in other moves she has a little bit less. It makes her different at the same time, which I really love that. I really, really love that. So again, like I just want to talk about this other thing about Irene. Obviously, like whenever we get to her as a whole, I'm going to talk more about her actual moveset. I want to just like make a quick video talking more about Dreamer ranges and stuff and what makes them a little bit hard to balance, but how you can like maybe fix it. Just like if you ever want to make a Dreamer character, this is something to consider and keep in mind. Obviously, some people want to keep very close to the source in the original sprite sheet, but Dreamer characters are built for being a little more expressive and getting a little more creative with your ideas. Don't be afraid to like make up things as you go. Obviously pull from the games of what she does, but Mado and Yumika, they're using these attacks in very different ways from their original source. You can get creative with it. Don't feel bad. Everyone's gonna love when it turns out great like this. But yeah. That's all I have for now. This will probably be the last thing before I do the log of my video. I promise. Alright. Y'all have a good time now. Bye-bye.